Marc Jackson, NBC Sports Philadephia pre- and post-game. I tweeted again last night, Marc. It's just another example of why waiting 3 years for these two guys was worth it. I mean, those two guys last night, I know the numbers weren't gaudy for Joel, 15 points only, but, man, those two guys are just such a handful, and they're now 8-3 in their last 11 games, and 2 of those losses came to Golden State.
I agree, man. These two is giving people a sigh of relief. Like, okay, maybe it was ready, maybe it was worth it. Maybe we can, kind of live for what we had to go through the last 3-4 years. Because when you see Joel Embiid, you see Ben Simmons doing what they do, it just makes you appreciate the game, and not just appreciate the game. It makes you appreciate the process it went to get these two caliber players. It's big time to watch.
What I want to get your opinion on is the way they lost the game Saturday night. You're a young team, you're up that big, and then you get basically the second half, they got the doors blown off them. I was there. It was a freight train running down. They just couldn't stop it, although I thought Coach could have taken a couple of timeouts there in that third quarter to slow the train down a little bit. But the fact that they got off the mat and the way they won last night with defense and going away, what does that say about the psyche and the character of this team?
It does. It says a lot about their development, their overall maturity. They have come so long way. Okay, they lost the 2 games to Golden State and 2 that we felt that they had in the bag they should have won. But it does just show where they're at as a ball club, as a unit. Their development has come so long away. And, and a lot of credit has to go up to not just the coaching staff, but, these players. They come out, man. They seem focused. They seem determined. They're playing for something. They're not just out some young players out there having fun. They're trying to win games, and that's big time.
Marc, Joel gets a lot of the spotlight, but how about what Ben Simmons is doing? Because before the season began and we sat there and looked down the roster and what they could be, a lot of the discussion that Mike and I had, a 6'10" point guard, how would that work? And people around the league weren't so sure that a 6'10" point guard was going to work. And it's not only working, it's working at such a high level that even when he had a bad first half last night, Ben Simmons still was able to come on in the second half last night and put up a double-double.
Yeah, that's a sign of a player that, and for him, it's kind of easier in a retrospect because he's the primary ball handler. So when Ben doesn't have it going, he has the ball in his hand. So he can kind of break plays and do things to get himself going. And he's a freight train. Let's just face it. There's no other guard in the league that can match up with him because his girth. I heard it today. He compared to he's the same size as Blake Griffin, but he's a point guard. He's a structure that is the move. He's just so big and strong, and he's so fast. So if you do try to put somebody size to size with him, he just goes around like they standing like a turnstile. So that's pretty nice to watch. I really like this kid. This kid, his development in these first 15 games, 16 games, whatever it is, has come such a long way. But then the way him and Joel complement each other. Joel Embiid, he can start off bad. He seems to get himself going. He can start bad. He might, beginning of third quarter, not have it going, but he finds a way to finish strong, stop the bleeding, get to the foul line. The way he baited the Utah Jazz player into pushing him to get technical fouls, that's just, he's entertaining also.
Hey, would you say that Ben Simmons is an all-star? I mean, it is a small sample size, but is he at an all-star caliber already?
I mean, if you take in a sample size what we got to work with, of course he is. I think it's not just the way he's playing number-wise, but what he's doing for this ball club. He's played in every game. He's been consistent in every game. He's been a great player to watch, and it's very special to watch happen. And I'm honestly just happy to be a part of it. I moved back to the city just in time. This is great basketball. Ben Simmons, as of now, has put him out all-star quality play.
How do you think he's been on the defensive end? Because that was the one area that people thought he might be a liability at. But I look down the stats, he's got 11 blocks so far this season.
Exactly, because he's so long. Everyone had questions. I'm quite sure Brett Brown had questions too. Like, if I'm making a primary ball handler, do I put him on the opposing team point guard, or do I put him on the opposing team power forward or small forward? Because I don't know if he can stay in front of people. He's been showing that he can stay in front of people and he did a darn good job at it. And that's hard to do. That's rare to do. Steph's going to get his, but the point is he's still guarding Steph and able to stay in front of Steph, who's an incredible shooter, great basketball player in his own right.
Do you think the players are starting to find their roles because they kind of have the current rotation now, and are you happy with how that starting unit is, plus what they bring off the bench?
That the NBA is not about your first five. Yes, you have to have players that can do something for you and contribute for you, whether it's off or the starting lineup. The way they schedule six is like, okay, Bellis goes out, he missing there, and let's plug Belly in, and he's still able to keep the train rolling. And then when Bellis come back, he's still able to keep the train rolling. I just think it's special, and it's all right to see it happening before our eyes, and I love what I'm seeing. It's just a big ups to this team, this organization. I can't say it enough, gentlemen. I am shocked, and I will be honest, I think that's the word I can use. I am shocked to see how quickly this team is gelled, and not necessarily because of the talent. I'm surprised because of the way Ben is playing, but I think I'm more so surprised the way the chemistry has gone. Consider and rethink back, gentlemen, Joel did not practice in all the preseason. And so you need that time together to gel, to become one, to know everybody's strengths and weaknesses, not necessarily with the coaches to learn your strengths and weaknesses, but you as teammates, as comrades, to be able to learn that. And that's the biggest shock to me with how fast they have come together as a team.
Yeah, Mark, I was going to ask you, we've been talking about him not really being up to speed. Do you think where do you think he is? Do you see him getting closer, or do you still think that he's, oddly enough, still pretty far away from being 100%?
You talking about Joel, correct?
Joel, yeah, Embiid.
Yeah, you talking about Joel.
Yeah.
So with me, what I see now is Joel's preseason legs are starting to vanish now. So when you first start getting in the top condition, your legs, the first thing that goes is your legs. Even no matter how great you come in shape, just the stress load of being on your feet, playing amount of games and practicing, it weighs on your body. It does. It wears on your body. And with that being said, your legs get tired. Your legs get heavy. And that heaviness lasts for 2-3 weeks. That's why you normally get that towards the end of preseason. And then once the preseason wears off, then when your legs start to get back to normal, you don't have that rubbery feeling. And that's when it happens. That's when you turn that leaf. And then you're starting to get in top shape. What I see Joel having now is the preseason legs are starting to wear off. And now, I give him another week or two, then he will start to play better basketball. Believe it or not, yes, he will be playing better basketball in another 2-3 weeks.
Marc Jackson, NBC Sports Philadelphia, and you can see him during the Sixers pre- and post-game shows. The Sixers play Portland tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. Mark, we talk about 20, 25 games. They'll hit that mark at the end of this homestand. But what do you think this team is lacking right now to maybe move them up a notch from like a 8, 7, 6, 5 seed and to be possibly one of those top 4 seeds, which seems to be up for grabs? What are they lacking that you'd like to see them get better at?
I would still, for me, I would still like to see better pick-and-roll defense on the second pass. The initial defense is there, but once that ball is swung and then they scrim it out and switch it out, then when that second guy switches out, then that's where still miscommunication is going. I think the pick-and-roll D on the second pass is still lacking, and I really believe that once they get that together, because the game comes down to pick-and-rolls in the last couple of minutes of the game, last 10 seconds of the shot clock, last 8 seconds of the shot clock, that's what it comes down to. Once they get that going, they're going to be a better team. But then secondly, with that being said, is once Dario finds his groove, then that's when also that's the second thing that needs to happen. Dario, I still believe Dario's best off the bench. I believe they need to play through him off the bench. And once that happens, once those two things happen, then that's when the 76ers are really pushing for that 5th spot. I said it in preseason. I said if Volko could play 1%, not 10, not 20, 1% better that he played last season, this team is the 5th seed. I said on TV in the first preseason game.
Hey, Marc, where does Fultz fit in when he comes back?
I'm still curious about that. Fultz is going to be he's going to be forced into the rotation. I don't know how much practice time they're going to give him before he gets in, but I think Fultz is coming off the bench will get more of a scoring punch. I think that's going to be another plus. I think the best problem you can have is too much talent, and Brett Brown is going to have that when Markel Fultz get back. He'll probably be playing off the ball. I think TJ is playing extraordinarily well. I think Markel's going to have to be playing off the ball with his second unit and finding his place to score. And I think that's going to be a very, very good thing because I think with Dario and with the other people in the second unit, they need some more scoring. Sometimes they get these drunk, and they left with TJ trying to create the last second. I think Markel Fultz is going to help that second unit score the basketball.
Talk about the second unit or guys coming off the bench, and I know you're high on Rashawn Holmes, but if you look at last night, do the Sixers need to get Amir Johnson more minutes?
The way Amir played last night, he needs more minutes. He played extraordinarily well with that second unit. He showed some grit, some fight, blue collar work ethic. He's given them what they need. I still think Rashawn Holmes is a great rim defender. He's a good pick and roll guy. You can switch him on the D. But Amir Johnson, he played lights out last night. His stats might not prove it, but his energy level, his defense, and his veteran leadership helped that team last night in that game. And I think if he can keep that up, then Rashawn Holmes needs to fight to try to get back to that backup big man.
Would you say last night's victory showed how far the Sixers have come as a team, though? I mean, like last year, everything had to basically go right. I mean, everything had to click for them to win. And then last night, they didn't really have a good offensive performance, and yet they won because they won the rebounding battle and they played decent defense.
Yes, I believe that game last night showed that they have become a basketball unit. They're not just a team with some good individuals, some pieces around it. They became a good basketball unit with that win last night. And if you build it off that, that's proven that maybe they've turned the hump. They've turned the switch. Maybe they've learned to win. But can they also take that against the top teams in the league? That's still a question I have.
Yeah, they beat the Jazz last night by 31. It's the first time they've swept Utah since the 87-88 season. Were you still playing at Temple back then?
I know that. 88-87. I was in what? Ninth grade?
Yeah, not even your Temple career hadn't even been thought of yet. That's how long it was since the Sixers swept Utah. It was, they really did a great job last night. After I thought the way they lost that game against Golden State, for them to come back, because then you're like, all right, now they got to play this Utah team who had beaten them. You had beaten them down there at their place. You know that they were going to be focused, but boy, they just took advantage and stranglehold of that game really early. And you got the rest of this homestand here. I mean, it's a pretty interesting finish to this, little homestand here because they can really put themselves shooting into December, in a spot that not a lot of people thought they'd be in. I mean, I really thought they would be struggling coming out of the gates here and then around Christmas start to take off. If they could get to December, with a winning record, I think that's a huge level of success to start this season off.
Listen, let's be honest. We all men here. And any ladies that's listening to the broadcast, if anyone could say the 76ers would be here and they knew they would be in this situation right now, not telling the truth. Let's be honest. Holidays come around. We all didn't think they'd be in this moment at this time. They're playing outstanding basketball. The way this home stretch is helping them. I actually looked at that road trip as like a preseason. Joel was playing. Joel was involved. He was part of the team. They became more of a unit, become a fine-tuned animal as a whole. And I think now they would start to build off momentum. But I didn't expect them to be in the position they are now. And I'm quite sure Brett Brown and Colangelo's are happy they are now.
Hey, Marc, when you hear NBA players say it, LeBron just said it about a week ago, about going on the road. We needed this road trip sometimes. What exactly happens sometimes on these road trips that is necessary?
You bond. The family's not there, whether you have a wife or children, or you have a girlfriend. They're not there. You don't hang out with other people. You're hanging out with your team. You might have friends in the other teams, but in the other cities, but you are with your team more so than you would if you was actually at home in Philadelphia. So you bond, you gel, you become a unit, become as one. And that's what happened. And that's why I said they used it for this road trip they just came off as preseason. They have bonded together as men. they have become more of a unit, and that's what happened on this last road trip.
They absolutely, surprised a lot of people by having a 3-2 road trip there. Really, they win that Kings game, which I'm sure they're kicking themselves about. They would have been 4-1 on that West Coast swing. Tomorrow night, they play a tough Portland team. That's a tough matchup with that backcourt that they have. The Sixers, obviously, their backcourt has given them a lot of production, but that's a tough backcourt to stop. We'll see how that works out right here on 97.3 ESPN. Marc Jackson, Sixers pre- and post-game on NBC Sports Philadephia. Kind enough to stop by the Sports Bash. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Marc.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Pleasure talking to you.